Hi, hello, and welcome to another episode of The Dunker Spot. We are part of 342 Productions. I am your host, Nekias Duncan, and joining me as always is my co-host, Steve Jones Jr. Steve, how are you doing, sir?
Feeling good, feeling great, happy to be here, excited to be here. Thank you, Dunkers, for once again embracing your bounce. YouTubers, hi, what's going on? Dunker Nation, let's ride. Nekias! It is time to hoop it up.
It is time to hoop it up, or it has been hooped up, I suppose, on the NBA side at the very least. This feels like, I don't know, like Black funeral adjacent. We are not here to mourn, but we are here to celebrate the end of this NBA season. As the Denver Nuggets, a 4-1 series win. It's funny, like the last time we talked, the Nuggets got a crucial Game 3 victory over the Miami Heat, snatched home court back. And one of the themes of that pod, and one of the questions I was asked, like, hey, was this a series shifting win for Denver? Or was this just an important win for Denver and Miami can adjust? And I was on the fence naturally. I was like, well, I do think there's some meat left on the bone for Miami's offense. I think there's some things they can adjust to, but it brought me back to your central playoff point that you've made on this pod across multiple seasons now, where it's like, at a certain point, it becomes, can you solve this problem? Can you counter this specific thing? And I wondered after that Game 3, which it popped in the eye test, and then you look it up on Second Spectrum, it was the highest volume Murray-Jokic game in terms of pick and roll reps that we had seen from them in the entire playoffs. And my mind went to, hey, was this the game where Denver's like, you know what, y'all really just don't have an answer for Murray and Jokic together. You can't really do anything against it. And so as we get the 13-point win in Game 4 for Denver, the Aaron Gordon explosion. And as we get whatever that Game 5 turned into, very gritty, very fun, clutch, some nonsense sprinkled in at points, very hectic game, 94-89 victory for the Denver Nuggets in that one. I kept coming back to, man, Miami is now doing everything they can to adjust to this Murray-Jokic pairing. Game 3, I think it was 31 picks between the two. That number dropped in Game 4, but that was a lot of Miami sending two to the ball against Jamal Murray. Here are these Jokic pops. Wait, he's open, or we're rotating a third defender to him, and now they're playing out of that. That's opening up cuts for MPJ. That's opening up cuts or just some mismatches below the basket for Aaron Gordon. Now these role players are getting loose. Miami didn't play zone in Game 4. It was very much, let's get two to the ball, let's play out of that. Couldn't solve it. Game 5, 29 zone possessions per Second Spectrum. The most zone that Miami has played in this series against Denver. And it worked in that it limited the volume of Murray Jokic. It worked in that it further slowed this series down. But it created openings for some of the other role players in Game 5 as well. And then you combine that with Jokic eventually just finding his way to the middle of the zone and getting some push shots to go, drawing fouls, drawing extra defenders and making kickouts. Miami could never figure out what to do with those two. And despite their best efforts, despite what was a less than stellar offensive series for Denver standards, it ended in a 4-1 series victory for the Denver Nuggets. And I could not be more impressed with what they were able to do.
Plenty to talk about with the Denver Nuggets. We're going to dive all into it, folks. I think to jump off what you said, one of the things that I had in between Game 3 and Game 4 was, can Miami lessen the impact of Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic? Because it felt like if it turned into Denver can lean on those two to steady the offense, those two can separate or win the game in the fourth, and they're unlocking people, very difficult for Miami to compete. Mm-hmm. And Miami threw everything they could at Denver. Everything they could. Hey, let's try drop. Hey, let's put Jimmy on Jamal Murray, and let's continue to try drop. Denver responded with, cool, we're going to clear the wing. Jamal Murray's going to get downhill. Well, let's put two on the ball. Cool, we're going to hit Jokic on the short roll, and that's going to open things up. Okay, well, let's get two on the ball and try and do better. Well, hey, here's Nikola Jokic popping, and now waiting for you to close out and driving. Okay, let's try and just stay attached to Jamal Murray, take away some of the cuts, be physical. Hey, here's still Nikola Jokic, and Jamal Murray's getting downhill. Hey, you know what? Let's do a late switch. Bam, you got the late switch, cut off that drive. Oh, here's Nikola Jokic being guarded by an assortment of Gabe Vincent, Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin. And that was when it really clicked for me in that game 5. When you see Miami had settled on, okay, this is what we're doing. Jamal, you are not turning the corner. Absolutely not. And Denver said, cool. Joker, here's the ball. Go to work. And that's where it's like, And you gotta give Denver credit because you go from that game 3 where Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray did what they did. And you follow that up with a game 4 where if you're Miami, we held Nikola Jokic to 8 for 19.
Mm-hmm.
We held Jamal Murray to 5 for 17. Aaron Gordon scored 27 points on 15 shots, and Bruce Brown had 21 points on 11 shots. Are you kidding me? Literally, Bruce Brown step back 3 to close out a game. I did not have it on a bingo card. So much that I went on the Bird app and said bingo cord. That's how disheveled I was.
You were in shambles.
Oh yeah, I was hurt. But that's where it becomes untenable. And I'm sure we'll talk about it, but Miami just ran into the one team, the one issue that you couldn't solve. I think that ties into what Denver's done all season long, all playoffs long. The beauty of their ability to maintain their identity, stick with being themselves, but find different ways to win. When you look at games 3, games 4, games 5, different ways. Hey, our stars are going to carry us here. Hey, our role players are going to carry us here. You got us in the mud. How many points did Denver score in game 5?
A sterling 94 points.
I believe that's the second time they've scored sub 100 in the playoffs. They won both those games. That says a lot.
Tough group. It was fun going. One, this is why I love doing the podcast with you, because it's like I do when I do pod prep. Like I get my notes together, get stats together. Then sometimes I'll just like walk around the house if I'm feeling antsy, just kind of start talking out. Okay, how do I want to say this when I get to this point, whatever. Kind of try to get myself going, ADD brain, all that good stuff. And so like one of the things I wanted to say was like a theme for Denver for me in this series was they were pulled out of their element, but they didn't lose the essence of who they are. And so listening to you say like it's yes, thank you for that.
Hey, your version was more Bari.
I don't know about that. We landed the same plane. I was just like, man, I'm glad we're on the same page here. But no, like it just going through the final stats, 110 points was eclipsed once in this series by the Miami Heat. They scored 111 in a game 2 victory. That Jamal Murray had a chance to tie with a 3-ball that just didn't go. And so that would have put them above there too. Miami effectively pulled this in the mud, to your point. A pace of 91.7 in this series. Slowest finals we have had since the 2014 NBA Finals between the San Antonio Spurs and the Miami Heat, which was also a 5-game series against a team that could move the ball and run various 2-man actions in different places of the floor with different angles. And I'm sorry, Heat fans.
So you're saying Miami needs to avoid that pace, eh?
Just run all the time whenever you face a team that can move. No, but in all seriousness, Miami, I guess overall, they accomplished their goal. They knew heading into the series. Like, no, you can't stop Jokic. You can't stop Murray. But you have to find ways to poke at them and slow them down. And Miami was able to do that in a literal sense, in which this game is going to be in the mud. Miami won the turnover battle in this series by a pretty healthy margin for that. They didn't turn it over. The transition frequency for the series ended up being right around where Denver was in the regular season. I think it was 15.8% of their possessions came in transition during the regular season. Ends up being 15.5 in the finals. And that was basically off the back of the last 2 games of the series, which coincided with Miami's offense just flat out dying over the last 2 games of the series. Could not knock down threes. Denver was able to get out and run from there, or just the live ball turnovers. It may not have been a high number of turnovers overall for Miami, but the types of turnovers went from moving screen, offensive foul, miscommunication, ball thrown out of bounds, to I'm driving, Jokic swipes it, they go on the other way. We're trying this pass, KCP pick 6. And those turnovers killed Miami because they needed this to be a half-court battle. They needed this to turn into, we're going to throw in some drop, we're going to throw in some switches, whatever. We're going to help as much as we can, but we keeping it slow, we bleed the clock. We're going to run zone, we're going to bleed the clock. On the other end, Jokic is in a drop against this guy, we may have a pocket. He's at a level against this guy or this action, we're going to have a pocket. We got to make our shots from there. It isn't a perfect path. It wasn't a high probability path, but it's one they had a blueprint to win. Those live ball turnovers killed them. The shooting numbers, they just weren't there consistently. Max Strus led the NBA Finals in 3-point attempts, shot 18% from three. Unfortunate time for him to go cold after what has been a pretty solid postseason run for him overall. Just could not knock down shots. Gabe Vincent, I think 33% from three in the series. Tremendous postseason run for him. The shots just stopped falling at a bad time. Jimmy Butler just could not pressure Denver enough. Could not make enough to really make them bend. And that became extra important from game 3, where, we talk about what Murray and Jokic did on the offensive end, the volume, the efficiency, the different looks Miami tried to throw, they couldn't get it to go. The other inflection point of that game was Denver saying, we don't have to load up to help as aggressively as we are behind Jokic. We already got a guy at the nail. Let's just trust that we can make Jimmy pick up his dribble or bother him or bother the roll. We'll trust Jokic at the rim. Jimmy could not make enough of those short push shots, those short pull-ups, could not get to the rim enough, couldn't draw enough fouls. They did perk up in game 4 and game 5, but ultimately couldn't do enough to make Denver start sending more help. And that's just kind of where it went. Miami's defense overall, I think their defense overall was still good enough to win this series. Their offense wasn't. Jimmy couldn't hit enough of the notes. Bam, you needed him to shoot 50, 55% from mid-range. That's something that he can do in a short span of games, but he wasn't able to hit that level, despite how good he was. And then once the three-point shooting also doesn't hit, it just became too much. And to your point, Steve, Denver was able to shapeshift enough. Still have Murray, Jokic as their foundation, but okay, cool. We'll let Murray pick out a matchup this time. Or we'll throw it to Jokic in the block. We'll go pick and roll this time. We'll go handoff this time. We'll have Murray screen for Jokic. We'll have Jokic set an off ball for Murray. They could just reconfigure it enough to whatever Miami's defense was doing and find enough answers. So it wasn't your 128 offensive rating, your 130 offensive rating. All they had to do was get between 115 and 120. And they end the series around, 117, 118, somewhere in there. That's all they needed. And Miami's offense simply could not keep up.
I think that, in a nutshell, is the story of the series, where Miami showed you the outline. The fact that Miami was able to get Denver towards their style of game, to get the pace in their favor, to live in the world, the coloring book, where, hey, we got a shot here. They unfortunately could not get the total blend together. Jimmy had a ton of opportunities, a ton of looks. You could see he was, as you stated, balancing that role of being a playmaker while also being the aggressive Jimmy. And we saw flashes of both. But as that series wore on, to your credit, Denver was like, hey, you got to just do it.
If you do, we'll adjust from there, but you got to do it.
And he almost did. When he scored the last 13 points for Miami, he almost did.
But I don't know what the first three. We can talk a little bit about like the game 5 specifically, but continue.
Denver found answers on defense, found answers on offense, continued to find their rhythm. My mind still, even based on what you said, it goes back to zone and how Miami was like, you know what? Forget it. We're going to play zone. Elimination game. We're just going to throw it out there. We're going to live with it. And the battle all series long of Denver being like, oh, cool, nice denials. Here's Nikola Jokic catching in all sorts of different areas on the floor that you don't have matchups on. Might be the elbow, might be the right corner, might be the left corner, short corner, middle, flash.
Low post.
Distorted all of Miami's matchups. And I was like, wow. Like, you think about it, it was absurd to like kind of rewatch some of those zone clips and try and break it down a little bit and get a concept of what Miami was trying to do. And I found myself saying, that's a great job by Miami. Do you know what the result of that great job by Miami was?
A Jokic touch and or a bucket.
Nikola Jokic catching the ball with 2 feet in the paint and only one person guarding him. Think about that.
Yeah.
And that's where you got to give Denver credit. Because they know who they are, they have a belief in what they do, and they find ways to win. Denver won what? And shout out to Coop, 3 games in this series, shooting 29% from 3, 28% from 3, and 18% from 3.
Yeah.
They just had all the answers. They had all the answers. What a run from the Denver Nuggets.
What a run for the Denver Nuggets. Actually, before getting into some Game 5 specific stuff, because Buddy has some thoughts about that game. What a run for the Denver Nuggets, man. Jamal Murray coming back. The season that Nikola Jokic was able to put together. The growth that we saw from Michael Porter Jr. Aaron Gordon finding his way. Bruce Brown fitting in off the bench. It was just fun to watch this come together. And we also talked about the low points of their seasons, specifically that March when it felt like, early portion of the season, we talked about it in like December or so. Defense was just bad. I was like, hey, what is going on with Denver's defense right now? They are not going to be able to hit the level that they want to in the postseason if their defense doesn't shape up. And then naturally, hey, if only there was a podcast. But it was that was me. I was like, hey, it can't be, guy on the, whatever. But I was like, hey, the defense this isn't going to cut it if Denver wants to contend. And so naturally, they didn't just reel off a month and a half stretch where they just put the West out of reach. And then they coast and also played less than stellar defense in March. And that's where some of the MVP stuff comes in. Embiid closes the season strong. He wins it. I'm not here to relitigate the MVP discussion. I said I think Embiid should have won it. That's fine. But it was nice. We entered the postseason like, hey, can Denver hit the notes defensively? We've seen them do it. We've also seen what it looks like when they don't. Can you do so? And it's funny looking back now that like Minnesota was the team that low-key gave them the most trouble defensively, at least statistically. Like that's where the least amount of like success came for them offensively. And yeah, like that was also a fun thing. Quick aside, just going through like the Murray Jokic pairing, like okay, how they do against the Lakers, how they do against the Suns, how they do against the Wolves, Heat, whatever. Under 1 point per possession, the Murray Jokic 2-man game against Minnesota. So that was fun. And then they just blasted the Suns, blasted the Lakers, was okay against the Heat. But again, they were able to find enough answers outside of those two. But yeah, it's their ability to problem solve offensively was fun to watch. And then defensively, I had versatility questions heading in. Like, okay, we know what Jokic can do at the level. What does the drop look like? If they are going to load up this help beyond the drop, can they hit the right notes? And throughout this postseason run, they did it. They found the help points against Minnesota. They found the help points against Phoenix. They definitely found the help points against Phoenix. They found the help points against the Lakers. Jokic did his job within that confinement, within that assignment. Did so against Miami as well. There was a level of nuance there between their scheme, their help, what Jokic was able to do, the rebounding pop for Jokic, the quick hands pop for Jokic as well. Some of the contesting was better. Steve laughed at a few possessions in Game 5 live when Jokic trying to take some charges. Third Game 5, but overall, like Jokic brought it. And now the Nuggets are champions.
The Denver Nuggets are champions. You know what? Let's talk about Denver. Let's just go ahead and talk about Denver. I got Denver thoughts. It's time to give them their flowers. I went back to my notes from the preview pod that we did. And so the answer to the question, what excited me the most, was the starting lineup. What does that peak look like, Nekias? Well, it looks like a championship.
Yeah.
My biggest question mark for this Nuggets team, bench play and defensive consistency, which ironically are the two reasons why they ended up winning the NBA championship. We broke down, hey, can you build a good playoff defense around Nikola Jokic? And I felt like Denver had made the moves to give themselves the best shot. We have better personnel. We have more lineups we can throw out there. We have more size. We can guard more positions. And my mind goes to that Timberwolves series. Going even back to Game 1 and seeing Denver be able to mix drop in confidently. Mm-hmm. I did the dog head tilt. Because their base coverage this entire run has been Jokic at the level. But they were willing to be in the drop. They were willing to stay in the drop. They were willing to trust their activity. They were willing to recover and close out. Go back to that fourth quarter of Game 5 and look at how hard Denver was working defensively. None of it was a perfect world. Miami was working to generate as many shots as they could. Denver was flying around. Late switches, help, recover, close out, work to contain. It was all there. Which is funny because that's the secret of getting to Denver's defense. Get them in rotation. Get them scrambling. Denver worked their tails off to bend at times, but rarely break. Even with their personnel, even with their struggles, did anyone ever break Denver's defense?
Not really. Like, it was that 2-game stretch for Phoenix where it looked
That's,
like, hey, I mean, it was just incredible shot making from Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, but like, some of the double drag stuff that they were doing against Denver's defense and stuff, like they were able to poke at it there. But to your point, they poked at it. They never broke it.
and think about that. That's that Minnesota series. Game 2, they're up, 21? I stopped watching the game. I turned it off. I was like, I'll check it out in the morning. Minnesota shoots 81% in the third quarter. Jamal Murray ends up dropping 40 and they win. That's a will to win. That's a will to not bend, not break. We're going to find a way to get it done. That's important. Think about all the question marks we've had for how many years about the backup bigs and what do you do when Nikola Jokic is off the court? How many picks they send to get Thomas Bryant?
Sent some seconds and that, man.
Now think about the answer to that. After all these years being Aaron Gordon and Jeff Green, and what that group did all playoffs long, they went at Karl Anthony Towns and said, absolutely not. You're not getting anything, buddy.
You switching, bud.
And they were able to hold up against Phoenix, able to hold up against the Lakers, able to hold up against Miami until Coach Michael Malone was like, you know what? It's time to win a championship. Nikola, why don't you play a few extra minutes? It's funny, you mentioned the Wolves being the greatest threat statistically. I will always uphold, I think the single greatest threat to the Nuggets was Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, just from a pure scheme perspective.
Yeah, that's fair.
The pick and rolls, the handoffs, they were the two people who were going to force Denver to come to the level. And boy, they made all the shots to make Denver think about that. But again, watch how Denver adjusted during that series. You did a whole breakdown on double drags, and Denver said, hey, Aaron Gordon, you just mess all that up. Nikola, you stay back.
Yep.
We'll show more help from other places, and we'll figure it out. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't mean to get too lost in the sauce, but my mind goes to the start of this season. They lost by, 20 points to Utah? They were 14-10? And they were, you look up, they're 33-13 and running away with the Western Conference. So much so that the whole Western Conference tried to reshuffle everything because, hey, we can't have this.
not them. Hey, Kevin.
And then it's just like, you know what? You got to give a salute to Coach Michael Malone. The work that he's done, the effort he's given. Shout out to Coach David Edelman, Ryan Saunders. It's been tremendous work from that whole staff, top to bottom. But then my mind goes to the journey of the last 8 seasons, Nekias.
It is the journey, yes.
They really finished their story. 2015-16 was Coach Michael Malone's first year. You know whose last year it was in the league?
Go ahead.
Mine.
Ah, I see.
Do you know my last road win I experienced in the NBA?
Go ahead.
At Denver, March 4th, 2016.
Wow.
They started Emmanuel Mudiay, Gary Harris, Jakar Sampson, Kenneth Faried, Nikola Jokic. It was my scout, though. We won. What's up?
Hey, there it is.
But put it all together. They were the 9 seed the next 2 years. The 9 seed.
No plan back then. You know?
No. Then you win 54 games. You get that 2 seed. This is your moment. Hey, here's Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum saying absolutely not. A game 7 you lose where Nikola Jokic has 29 on 26 shots and Jamal Murray has 17 on 4 for 18 from the field. You go to the bubble, overcome 2-3-1 deficits.
And boy, that Clippers loss was, oh man.
Come up short against the Lakers. Hey, we're back up. 3 seed. You get Aaron Gordon. You get a glimpse. Literally a handful of games with Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and then Jamal Murray's gone. But they grasped something during that stretch. And I went back to my notes from after that trade. What was it? 3 games, Denver had an offensive rating of 132.3 or something like that.
Yeah, we talked about it.
it felt like they had been in a cycle where every time it looks like they were quietly turning the corner and getting right, they weren't there at all. And it kept repeating itself. And that's the Denver Nuggets story until this season. Didn't have enough to beat Phoenix that year. Then the next season, we don't have any Jamal Murray. We get 9 games with Michael Porter Jr. Still get to 48 wins, but you can't beat Golden State. Think about the spin cycle of the NBA this time. This era. This world we live in. That's like 3 windows Denver had that I just described.
Yeah.
With no championships. You would think that might be it. But they go get Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They go get Bruce Brown. They build around that core because of the vision they saw in those, 5-6 games. And gave them the best pieces. And it's just like, you have to admire the bond they had. The brotherhood they had. The identity they played with. They stuck with it. The chip on their shoulder. You go up and down the roster. All those guys probably at some point felt disrespected. But they all contributed. And I go back to Coach Michael Malone at the start of the season telling his team, don't talk about it, be about it. And everything he said in every press conference since the whole playoff run, we get a culmination of Coach Michael Malone happy being thrown in the air by siblings.
Whee!
Not the we. Which also was very funny to watch Coach Michael Malone. Like I was expecting like some soliloquy, and he was like, "No, we're not done with just one." And I was like, "No, just
enjoy it,
just enjoy the moment." But I get it, but also like I want you to enjoy this moment. But then like think about the eras that Denver has faced during this stretch. The start of this was 73-9 Golden State. Spurs still kicking around. OKC is still OKC, but also not OKC. But they're still there. Lob City's still around. Oh, here comes Houston. Here comes the start of Utah.
Yeah.
Here comes Portland.
Here comes Phoenix. Even
here's LeBron and Kawhi, also in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
Oh, Utah got better. Here's the Phoenix Suns. Oh, there's Luka on the way. Oh, here comes Memphis. Oh, the Warriors are still doing stuff. This has gone from Paul Millsap and Gary Harris and Will Barton and Torrey Craig to this. I can't imagine the amount of vindication that has to come with this run.
Oh, and that's before getting into like the narrative stuff on top of everything surrounding Nikola Jokic. And we're not going to do that on this pod. But man, it's been such a fun run. Also, just to just very quickly to the Phoenix point. Like, it's funny going back to like 2021 and like, again, Denver was just missing a bunch of people, or missing Jamal Murray at that point. It's just funny to where like what Chris Paul did against Drop in that series versus the start of the second round. It's like, yeah, Chris, you're just getting dropped. We go into the level against these two. We dare you to beat us in Drop. And it's like, this is a shift from the last time we saw these two play each other.
Mm-hmm. And insert, I ain't never ever seen them act like this before. Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty interesting.
Look, man, the Nuggets are stamped. The Denver Nuggets are stamped. I don't want to do look at the path. They went 16-4. Never trailed in series. It never really felt like they were on the verge of elimination. The closest questions we got was when Phoenix tied it at 2, but it was also like, hey, can Phoenix keep doing this?
Yeah.
More than can Denver accomplish this? At least for me.
Yeah.
And like, I just don't, there's things I don't want to hear. Look at the players they had to go through. They had to beat Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. They had to beat LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They had to beat this whole Heat team with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo playing the way they did. They had to go through Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, they had to accomplish some things. And they did it. And we're looking at Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, first pair of teammates in NBA history to average 25-plus points, 5-plus rebounds, 5-plus assists for a whole postseason. Yeah. Look at Jamal Murray. Let's not forget this run Jamal Murray's been on. And this is no disrespect to the Joker. But we hadn't seen that man in how many postseasons? 2? For him to have this run, to deliver these kind of goods on this kind of stage after the injuries he's had, phenomenal. Unbelievable stuff. Yeah. Unreal effort. Like, what are there? 4 players that average 20 points and 10 assists in the NBA Finals?
He's on a list with Magic Johnson, man.
Magic, Michael, LeBron, and Jamal Murray. The bubble thing's over, man. He's just a champion.
Yeah. Heck of a run for Jamal Murray. And then Jokic. Again, not going to get too deep into all the other stuff around the conversation. I hope those conversations just cease. Take the L if you have to. Tip your cap. Let's fully appreciate what this guy is. First player in NBA history to lead a postseason in total points, total rebounds, and total assists. Think about who Jokic has had to face in this postseason run. The collective size of Minnesota in their first round. And things kind of shifting with Rudy Gobert taking more of the matchup. Again, Jokic ended up winning because he's better than Rudy Gobert, but Gobert made him work. You get Phoenix. You have KD on the back line. You have DeAndre Ayton, which Ayton didn't have his best series. But like, that's not a bad front court to go against. You get the Los Angeles Lakers. He gets Anthony Davis head on. And then it's like, wait, this ain't working. Here's Rui or insert defender here. We want 80 on the back line. Denver just could not generate a large share of shots at the rim when that shift happened. And Jokic was still able to find a way. Wasn't his most efficient series? Still found a way to affect things. You get to the finals. Bam Adebayo worked his tail off this entire finals run. Pick and roll defense. Help when he could. Defending post-ups. Fronting. Navigating screens. Made Jokic work. 30 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. 58% shooting from the field for Nikola Jokic. What could you possibly say about what he's been able to do? And then the defensive work that Jokic did throughout this postseason run. Being able to navigate at the level. Being able to work and drop. Granted, there were help principles that helped him behind him, loading up stuff behind him, getting help at the nail. They were able to insulate him in a way. That's why you add to your defensive personnel year to year. It's a little bit different when you have Bruce Brown and KCP versus the point of attack defenders that Denver had last season. That helps. But Jokic also held his end of the bargain. A historic run for Nikola Jokic.
And he did his job defensively, Nikola Jokic, and everyone on the team did their job. Like, it doesn't work if Jokic is out of position. It doesn't work if they're not working on ball. It doesn't work if the off-ball defenders are not showing help early and recovering. It's all a team effort. And that's the biggest thing about Denver. You look at Michael Porter Jr. having the series that he had, but still maintaining the confidence, take and make some of those shots that they needed in that game 5. Mm-hmm. To see what Bruce Brown contributed. Him and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope making big plays in the fourth quarter of that closeout game. That Bruce Brown rebound is stuck in my head.
Yes.
That Kentavious Caldwell-Pope 3 is stuck in my head. You think about Aaron Gordon. Probably had one of the more impactful 1-for-6 games that you could have in that game 5. Top to bottom, everyone contributed. Christian Brown had his moments. Jeff Green flying around Duncan, holding up. DeAndre Jordan.
NBA champion DeAndre Jordan.
Hey, 1 block in 3 minutes. What you want from me? I got you.
His 3 minutes went better than Cody Zeller's.
Oh, you're not gonna bring this here. You're not gonna bring this here. We're not doing
hey,
that.
Man.
You know what? I said this earlier in this pod's history. I think DeAndre Jordan's effort against the Phoenix Suns in the regular season, when Nikola Jokic didn't play and he just stood there and dropped, single-handedly won the championship for the Denver Nuggets.
I can't believe that came full circle. That is sickening.
Oh, we can do that? Oh. Yeah, we got this.
That's insane.
I'm being facetious, but man. What a time.
What a
Denver
time.
Nuggets, NBA champions, and it's funny, you mentioned the effort that Bam Adebayo gave, and my mind goes to Miami Heat and the run they had and the effort they gave, and there's a possession from Game 5 that's burned in my brain where Bam is fighting like heck against Nikola Jokic. He starts out behind them, ends up working to front. They can't throw it in there. So Jamal Murray's like, cool, I'm just going to drive. You can't help, Bam. This is cool. He drives. Kyle Lowry is right there to meet him. Oh, no. Tries to skip it to the corner. I think it goes out of bounds. Miami gets the ball. They fought their tails off. They did every single thing they possibly could. A, to get here, and B, to try and win the thing. They just ran into a team where they could not solve the problem. They could not get to their blend to go from here to here. And, but it's very hard for me to disrespect the will of that Miami Heat team.
You can't do it. And before I give my Heat thoughts, like you mentioned a little bit earlier, just going through your preseason notes on Denver when we were doing the preview pods. And the thing I was excited for was Jokic, Murray, and MPJ playing together again and citing their on-court numbers or whatever. My biggest question was front court depth. So we were aligned. You know what the lineup I was most excited to see was?
Which one?
Jamal Murray, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic. AKA the lineup that they closed games with in the NBA Finals. When MPJ was still fighting defensively, just didn't have it offensively. Hey, we're going to put Bruce in here. Go close it out. You guard Jimmy sometimes. You run pick and roll sometimes. Oh, they in zone? You go from wing to corner or from corner to wing when the zone's distorted and knock down some big shots for it. And like post-game, reading the comment like Michael Porter Jr. saying, oh, I'm glad Coach Michael Malone took me out so Bruce could close. Would we have gotten that quote from Michael Porter Jr. 2 years ago? 2.5 years ago? Probably not. And if we did, we absolutely would not have believed him if he said it.
Wow.
And now you can tell this is a no. I want to win. These are the improvements that I need to make in order to help us win. This is the flow of the game. If it ain't me, it's my teammate. I'm cool with that. I want to win. And that's a really cool thing to see like progress throughout a young player's career. Especially considering like the injury stuff that MPJ has gone through in his career. Like, if I'm not blending seasons together, because that's just how time works post-pandemic or whatever, like, we started this season asking about, hey, is MPJ all right? This is a real slow start to the season for him. Is he going to be cool? Can he hit the level necessary? And he ends up having a really good season. Just fun stuff from Denver all around. Worthy champions. Heck of a run from their stars. The role players stepped up. I'm excited to see what next year looks like for them. I think the big domino in terms of their roster is just what happens with Bruce Brown. I would assume he declines his player option. There was the I want to come back comments post-game. I don't know if that's earnest versus I'm feeling real good right now. I love these guys. I have champagne. Of course, I want to come back. So we'll see like as that goes. Because with the new CBA stuff kicking in, I don't know what the machinations are going to be for Denver being able to pay Bruce Brown what he's earned this season. But like that seems to be the big domino. Beyond that, Jokic locked in, Murray locked in, MPJ locked in, Aaron Gordon locked in. You mentioned the Christian Brown moments, like he can step into another role. Like we didn't see him in this finals or this postseason run, but like you read Nuggets faithful stuff and you get quotes from there. Like they seem to be pretty high on what Peyton Watson can be. So I'm excited to see what his regular season may look like next year. Like they can keep this thing going. And that's really exciting. Like the obvious, barring health caveat, but that's really exciting. I'm really excited for this Denver Nuggets team moving forward. On the Heat side, a team that frustrated my heart this year with some of the offense stuff.
You don't say. For anyone that's new out there, Nekias spent the better half of the first 2 months of the regular season alternating between what is Miami doing on offense? Why can't Miami guard on defense? What is Miami doing on offense?
Hey, Miami's finding some stuff. Let's see. And then going right back to what is Miami doing on Hey, this is cool stuff from Bam. Oh no, what's going on with Bam? Why he can't catch no more? Wait, this man getting buckets. It's yeah. So for a Heat team that is just near and dear to my heart overall, for anyone that just knows my background, period. But what a weird season this was. You cap off last postseason with Jimmy Butler missing the pull-up that could have potentially sent them to the finals last year. Boston gets it. And they start this year not being able to make shots. And they continued throughout the year not being able to make shots. And then you add in injuries, COVID illnesses, and hey, this is a whole lot of Kyle Lowry and Big Lando against the Washington Wizards because they only have 8 players available. And they're not playing UD, so they only have 7 players available. And to think about where that season started and where it was to last month or so of the season, like, Miami very quietly like 11th or 12th in offensive rating. Like they shooting like 36% from three now. This is cool. Let's see if they can snag a playoff spot. They couldn't. All right, cool. They locked into the play-in. Surely they get the 2-7 matchup. Lose to Atlanta. And it's like, it's probably fitting that this team just loses out in the play-in. This season has been a drag. It's been Bam stuff. It's been Jimmy stuff. It's been injuries. It's been shooting. What's going on with Duncan Robinson? There's a whole lot of Gabe Vincent. Oh, cool, Gabe Vincent. Wait, there's a whole lot of Gabe Vincent, which is funny because when you get to the actual postseason run, Gabe Vincent was really darn good for Miami. But there was just so much frustration and angst around this Heat team on the outside. Inside, very consistent. Hey, we're working on stuff. This is a tight-knit group. We're going to find a way. We're going to push through it. That's just the mantra with Miami. So to see that actually manifest itself in this postseason run, they beat Milwaukee. Giannis was hurt, missed games, came back, wasn't 100%, but Miami beat Milwaukee. They beat the Knicks. Lose Jimmy Butler for a bit, they still are able to navigate that, win that series. They get Boston, go up 3-0 on Boston. Almost let go of the rope, lose the plot, get it in 7. An 8 seed, making the final, second time that's ever happened. An 8 seed from the play-in, if that matter, after losing the first play-in game and making the finals.
And being down in the second one.
Yeah.
Don't forget that part.
Yeah. In the midst of the Max Strus game, they almost lost that one. Wild to me. Absolutely wild to me. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna let you cook. I was just waiting for me to get my hors d'oeuvres ready.
Oh, okay, got you. But no, then you just a really weird season. Are the Heat gonna make trades? What is this? Is Kevin Love gonna be the only addition? What's happening? Should they get Russell Westbrook? They should. They shouldn't. They have this playoff run. You watch Jimmy Butler lose his mind against Milwaukee. Have some big games against New York. He twists the ankle. From a lift or explosion perspective, just never was the same from there. Was still very good in moments, still had big games, even in the Boston series. But you could tell just movement-wise, he wasn't the same dude. Bam Adebayo, as important as his growth has been for Miami the last few seasons, can he become that number 2 scoring option? Can he beat switches? Can he beat mismatches, et cetera, et cetera? To see him have the offensive games that he's had in this postseason run. We saw the highs. We really saw some lows in that Boston series as Boston was making their run. And then you see what he did in this Denver series. Like, oh, this is drop. I got a pocket. Cool. Y'all putting 2 to the ball. Short roll opportunity for me. All right, cool. We know what the defense can be for Bam. Watching those two try to figure it out. It ultimately didn't end up being enough because Denver was better. But watching them have the runs that they had. Gabe Vincent, for the slander he caught through portions of the regular season. For him to have the postseason that he had. A lot of fun. Max Strus hitting big shots in separate moments. Caleb Martin, just up into the finals, really, but specifically the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston. Caleb Martin could not miss the shots, the drives, the defensive assignments that he took on. How much fun was this season from him? And Buddy, if he was hitting free agency this offseason, he is not. He's still under contract. But if he was hitting free agency this offseason, that man would be making a whole lot more money than he's making right now, based on what he was able to do. Just a lot of fun from him. Kyle Lowry, as someone who's just, again, a whole lot of Heat Twitter folks that I follow me, et cetera, et cetera. The conversation surrounding Kyle Lowry, I would just say they were not very kind earlier this season. Some of the offensive input, or output rather. For him to come through big moment after big moment, after big pull-up, after charge taken, after hold up on switch, after screen navigation, after crucial rebound, after charge taken, after pull-up, after turnaround nonsense at the free throw line with a high loft and it just sprinkles in. He made big plays in this postseason run. And this just felt like, I don't want to call it a swan song because it's not like the end, but like this just felt like an Eric Spoelstra season. Where like I talked about it on the pod, we're like, hey man, this hasn't been Spo's best year. I said it during the regular season. But you get through this finals run, it's like, yeah, this is why he Spo. You may not see it. We may not have the results right now, but I am building towards something. I see enough to where if we hit this note and this note, we can get here. I'm going to try these combinations. It may not work now. They may be necessary down the road. We're playing the most zone throughout the first, month and a half of the season that's ever been tracked in NBA history. We may not do that the whole year, but it may be important down the road. It has felt like a building block type of year for Spo. And for him to have this run with this group and to listen to him talk about how much he loved this group and the adversity they faced and went through together. This was a very special Heat. Wasn't the most talented team they've ever had. They ultimately didn't win. It's not the most talented team Spo's ever had. But this was a special group of people. The resolve from Jimmy. The resolve from Bam. The resolve from Kyle Lowry. The resolve from Max Strus. The resolve from Gabe Vincent. The resolve from Caleb Martin. Like, listen to them in pre- and post-game pressers. It's easy to make like Heat culture jokes and all that good stuff. But that was a group that even when they weren't playing well, they stuck together. What a run.
You know what's interesting? As you mentioned these names off, all of them had a spell where either things weren't working or they just weren't playing.
Yeah.
As Miami tried to tinker and figure some things out, and I'm trying to bounce off your points as you did an excellent job there. I think one of the best gifts that Spo has that I don't know that people understand, one, ability to connect with people, two, understanding who and what his team is and molding that team together and getting the most out of that team. Not specifically saying this is what we do, we have to get here. It's how do we get here? I know where this group needs to go. And I think to balance on to your point, you mentioned how much zone they played. Astronomical number. They could have played a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was specifically about, hey, let's get these wins, they probably play a lot more zone in the second half of the season, which sounds insane because they still played a lot. But they probably could have zoned their way to being out of the play-in, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. They took their lumps. They struggled in man-to-man. They struggled finding lineups. They struggled finding coverages. You can go up and down the roster. One of these guys had a stint out of the rotation or a, hey, what's going on? I think the fight that they showed in the regular season, the amount of clutch games they had to play, the path they had to endure to find ways, okay, how do we generate shots? How do we get stops? And I think this playoff run feels like the culmination, not of just this season, but the last 2 or 3, when Miami started to really switch and turn the knob to, okay, we can do this, but for us to win in the playoffs, we need this.
Yeah.
We need Jimmy to be able to do this. We need Bam to be able to do this. And you saw during this run, more so probably, well, even actually all series long, probably until Denver, the blend of, hey, we can play this style of game. We can have Jimmy take you over the top rope. And if you send more help, we can open things up that way. We're totally comfortable with that. If you want to switch against Bam, we're fine throwing it into him. If you're a big and you're in a drop, we can go pick and roll, run him in a drop. He can hit that mid-range shot or he can attack. And we can still add our movement to it. And I think that's the thing that stands out to me from that game 5 was the amount of looks that Miami generated. Now, they didn't make many of them.
They did not, sadly.
But I was sitting there like, hey, man, they are driving their tails off. They are trying to find the shots. And that's where you just got to, you got to take your cap off to them. The playoff run that Jimmy Butler had, I'm sure the ending is going to get all of the, the usual comments where I think he did have a look on that last play. I think his footwork was off, but I think he had the turn if he wanted it. The man went through Milwaukee and said, I don't really care which one of y'all guards me. Matter of fact, I'm going to cycle through every single one of y'all.
He hit Drew Holiday with I Own You. What in the world?
Hey, Brook Lopez, very great defensive player of the year campaign that you put together. Here's me driving right at your chest and finishing. Oh, okay. And then
Also,
you saw the defense. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but can I just say, Jimmy Butler willingly driving at Brook Lopez and then doing the probe and pass thing against Jokic should kind of give you a hint on how he was feeling physically, but continue.
Oh, stuck that in there.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I also think that Robert Williams ruined the party for Jimmy. Once he stopped biting on the
pump fake
drive, pump fake, here's my foot move. And it was like, oh, we don't have to do that. You're right. Good call. But the evolution of Bam Adebayo to become more complete player offensively and to add to it and be more assertive, be more aggressive, be more confident in taking those shots. I love what that team stood for, man. We're going to do everything in our power to beat you, but make no mistake, you have to beat us. But even in this championship series, Denver had to go ahead and take that. They had to take game 4, they had to take game 5. Now, they did it, and salute to them. But it wasn't from a lack of effort from Miami.
It was not. Just briefly bouncing off your Bam point. Like, Bam averaged 22 and 12 in the finals, man.
Man had 18 in the first half. Like, man, think about where I don't mean to go off. Think about where Kyle Lowry was before these playoffs. I literally made the joke, hey, they need to go find as much Toronto film and tell him to be that guy. And then you know what he did? Tried his best to be that guy.
Well, he did that in the game 5. Let me tell what was it, in the first half play where he's in the right corner and he's open, he pump fakes and got himself hit in the head to draw a foul. And I made the point during our watch party. Like 99.5% of NBA players would pump, side dribble, wide open corner 3. And Kyle's like, ooh, he's in the air. We about to get him. Man was in peak grift mode. I was like, oh, Kyle is here for the game 5. He's going to do everything in his power to do that. But I loved this finals. I loved it as a concept heading in, and we talked about it through the preview, not going to rehash all of that. But like, even with Denver winning in 5, it was so cool to see this is the pathway for Miami. This is the pathway for Denver. And if Miami tries to do anything to deviate Denver from the path, okay, here's an adjustment here. Here's a tweak here. And again, Denver having more avenues to do that was ultimately why they won the series. But like, they had a path. And Miami also had a path. They could not knock down shots, as you alluded to earlier. But like, it was fun to watch the chess match. Miami trying to take away Murray and Jokic. Denver trying to take away Jimmy and Bam. We're going to send aggressive help. Actually, no, we're not. Okay, we'll go with the switch. We'll load up help here. Or even if we're going to load up here, actually, we're going to mix up the timing here. We're not going to peel in early. We're going to wait until he's starting his move. Now we're going to dig down. Now he can't get comfortable. Like watching the nuance from Jokic as a helper, where if Jimmy gets a clear out on the left side of the floor, Jokic is already stepping up. Like, all right, I'm here. I'm zoning up. I'm here. Have fun, bud. Navigate that. To watching him in game 3, game 4, game 5, Jimmy has a matchup. Jokic is underneath the basket. Like, okay, let me see how many dribbles Jimmy's going to take because he might pass. Okay, that's 2 dribbles. That's another bump. That's 3 dribbles. Okay, he's turning to his move. Now I'm stepping up from underneath the basket to where Jimmy is. You're not going to get an easy shot over Jamal Murray just because you're bigger than him. Now you got to shoot over me too. There's so much fun. And then you zoom out, if we do want to get narrative-y with this series, a great story was going to win out no matter how this finals ended. Miami was either going to overcome all of this and become the first 8 seed to win a title. And you think about what happened in the regular season, what happened in the play-in, et cetera, Jimmy with the ankle, all this good stuff. They win the title anyway against Jokic. Wild story if Miami pulls that together. Jimmy gets one, all the, at the end of the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm gonna hold the next trophy, all that stuff. Beautiful end if Miami wins it. We get Denver winning it, and Jokic sheds all of he should shed all the nonsense. We're not gonna do it, but he should shed all the nonsense. Murray fights back from the injury. MPJ fights back from the injury. Aaron Gordon remakes himself. Doesn't have to be the end-all, be-all of the offense. He can slide in, use the multitude of skills that he has. Fits in, he wins the title. Bruce Brown. The story of Bruce Brown, man. Yeah, here's this guard. He can do some guard stuff, but he's not a guard. Actually, we're going to use him as
shoot. Yeah. He can't shoot. You can't, you got to be a big, my dude.
Yeah, go set some screens in Brooklyn. Oh, wait, he can actually screen. Oh, wait, he making short roll reads. Wait, he got a floater. Hey, he knocking down these spot up threes. And he comes to Denver like, oh, he just shooting.
He's a guard.
Yeah. It's just like, and like this is what it's supposed to be about, man.
Now that was the
season.
That was the fun for me. I'll go real quick. I know it wasn't everyone's favorite series, but the story of both these teams, the will of both these teams, the adjustments they made against each other, that was the fun for me. It was fun to see one of these two is going to come out on top, and how are they going to get there? That was just the beauty to me. Continue.
No, that was just it, man. Like this is a very fun encapsulation of what this NBA season was. And I think we'll probably just take another segment, like maybe next pod or sometime in the future, where we can go through. We should just get that tweet where this was the funniest NBA season ever. And all of the moments from this year, where it's like, oh, shoot, that did happen this year, huh?
Hey, maybe we'll do that in the mailbag next episode. How about
that? Because so much happened this season.
That's the gift that keeps giving.
That is a tremendous tweet, dog. Just a tremendous thread in general. But this was such a fun season to talk through. And like, obviously we aren't done. Like the NBA side isn't technically done. Like the draft's next week and then we'll flow into Summer League, whatever. And we definitely aren't done. Like the WNBA season is in full swing, so we'll shift more to that. But this NBA season was a fun one. It was fun talking through, hey, what's going on with Denver? What's going on with Miami? Watching Boston come out with the best offense in NBA history as they were just shooting the leather off the ball. And then talking about, hey, what's happening here? Is everything cool? We did it with Milwaukee. There was not a team that we did not talk about with, hey, this is cool, or hey, they got to figure something out.
There's a couple of Euro step past.
There's a couple you didn't. That's fine. I tried to hold it down for Charlotte and their defense post All-Star break and the Orlando.
Boy, did you ever. Man, boy, listen. Did you ever. Let's talk about that real quick before we continue on the pod. We had Doris Burke on this podcast, and you brought up Bol and the Orlando Magic. You did it when Zach Lowe came on here, too. And then, JJ, you did a whole Charlotte Hornets rant. I ain't forget.
Well, Steve, all 30 NBA teams matter. And even aside from the bid, if I can just be, if I can just brag on us for a bit, but also just be serious for a moment, there is something for everyone with all 30 of these teams. That's why I just love this league. Like, yes, you can enter a season or you can let a portion of the season play out. You can recognize, okay, these are the contenders. These are the teams that could be a contender when if things break right. These are the playoff teams. These are the larger teams, whatever. There's a hierarchy in the NBA. And it is natural that like those contenders or maybe contenders get more attention than the teams at the bottom. But in terms of like my enjoyment level, there's something everywhere. And I mean that earnestly. Like, were the Pistons good this year? No, they were not. Like the defense was kind of a mess, whatever. But did I have fun watching Jaden Ivey figure out how to shift speeds in the intermediate area? Did I have fun watching Jalen Duren figure some stuff out on defense? Did I have fun watching Killian Hayes try to figure some stuff out? It didn't always work. We know what the jumper ended up being. But watching the defense, watching the playmaking, watching him try to find avenues, like, yeah, I did. We talked about Houston on the podcast and what the offense was and all that stuff surrounding Houston. Did I have fun watching Jabari Smith try to figure some stuff out offensively? Yeah. Did I have fun with the KJ Martin season? Absolutely. More usage for Şengün, some of the passing plus the post scoring? Yeah. Jalen Green figuring some stuff. Like, there's something for everyone. I really believe that. If you give it the attention, if you give it the chance, I honestly feel like there's fun for everywhere. You should be able to turn on any NBA game and find something that intrigues you. And that's what makes doing this pod so fun. Like, even beyond the jokes and stuff. I'm glad that we both have the space to be like, you know what, this is interesting. What this player did or what this team is trying to do, even if it isn't working yet. I love that we have the space to explore. Okay, this is what Charlotte's trying to do right now with no LaMelo. Okay, this is what the Bowl experience looks like early in the year. Into, hey, this is how Paolo's getting to the free throw line. Okay, teams are adjusting to this. Now he's trying to figure out, how can I get to the drive? How can I improve the playmaking? I really enjoyed this NBA season. And I know there was like noise heading into the finals with Denver and Miami and whatever. It was a 5-game series. I had a blast.
I'm glad you had a blast, and I know we got some more up on the show. Quick free throw adjacent question for you. Okay. Who had more fun, the Calculator Casuals or the Box Score Boys?
Oh, man.
Okay, moving on. We got some news. Don't worry about it.
We are.
What you...
Don't get. Oh my goodness!
We can circle back to that. Don't worry about it.
Okay. We are an hour in, so I tell you what. How about we get through the news portion, and I think we'll hit W heavy on the next pod, since this conversation went a little bit longer than I thought it was going to.
Also, I have free throws, just so you know.
Okay, that's fair. We'll go news, and then we'll let you get to the free throw. We'll do it like that. That works. On the news front, I guess we'll just go Toronto heavy first. The first nugget of news: Fred VanVleet officially declining his player option. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason. That does not mean he won't return to Toronto on the new deal, but he does have free reign to go places. Steve, are there any teams, I guess aside from Toronto, any teams you would like to see explore adding Fred VanVleet? Could be sign and trade if necessary. Obviously, teams with cap space could just sign him, but any fits that you like for Fred?
It's a very interesting thing because my initial gut reaction once I saw that was, wow, well, where does he go?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's kind of insulting to Fred VanVleet, who's very good at basketball. But at the same time, where does he go? And it's like, okay, cap space, but then it's like, oh yeah, sign and trade. So this is a domino. Like wherever he falls is going to be interesting. But I don't know. Like I want to say Lakers off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be like the first one that pops in my head. Buddy, Phil. Can't say Philly, can you?
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on what old James does. But though that would be kind of funny, where it's just Fred and Tyrese, and it's like, well, hey, cool. So this is technically a better defensive backcourt, but it's also just smaller now. Have fun. Yeah. Okay.
What stood out to you?
Like I also thought Lakers first. I was like, okay, sure, they work out some kind of a double sign and trade maybe with him and like D'Angelo, but I don't know. Like the Raptors need pull up shooting for sure, and like D'Lo, if he doesn't provide anything else offensively, he can do that. And there is just more collective length defensively to where that can maybe be more tenable for him. But I also just don't think Toronto would want D'Angelo Russell. Like I don't mean that disrespectfully, but like I think they will try to find a different guard if they're going to like retool / rebuild in that scenario. So, a lot ironically, like Orlando really intrigues me among like the cap space teams. Or at the very least, they have sign and trade pieces if they want to go there without really tapping into their core if necessary. So like if you are of the mind that like Jalen Suggs projects to be more combo guard that can run some offense sometimes versus point guard in the future, then that gets fun. And even if Markelle Fultz isn't included in that trade, like you can play Fred and Markelle together. They're both good defensively. Markelle has the plus wingspan. Like you can play those two together, and then you have those two plus Franz and Paolo and Wendell, and like that's a really fun group. So if Orlando wants to just take the next step, no, we are firmly playoff / play-in team. Like Orlando certainly stands out in that regard. Just by virtue of the contracts. Oh, well, I guess the Clippers are like, they're at that second apron, huh? So I don't think they can do a sign and trade. I was going to say otherwise, like that feels like something that they could pull off just by virtue of who they have. Beyond that, like that probably does it. Like how Brooklyn, maybe? Like I don't know how. I guess I just don't know how quickly Brooklyn wants to build.
That was gonna be the one as I was trying to furiously search for an answer. As you talked about the Magic, Brooklyn was the one I landed on. But I'm intrigued to see what happens. Like what if it's a sign and trade for D'Angelo Russell or something like that? You never know.
Yeah.
Could get interesting. So TBD.
TBD indeed. And then the other Raptor news, they did finally hire a head coach. Darko Rajakovic in tow, who has been coaching in some capacity since he was 16 years old.
Man, been working.
That man has been working for a very long time. G League experience, some scouting experience, assistant jobs with OKC, Phoenix. He was the top assistant in Memphis. now the head coach of the Toronto Raptors. What were your initial thoughts when that came down the pipeline? Was it just they finally hired someone, or anything beyond that?
Well, it was clear they were looking for, I think as the search progressed, it was like, what are they doing? They wanted someone who A, was going to be there for a while, and B, had some level of experience, but could kind of take them in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very intrigued to see A, what the roster looks like, and B, how Darko tries to shape around it, if that makes sense. Yeah. But he's got plenty of experience. And everything I've heard from Memphis has been positive. Guys loved him, knew what he was talking about. Seen him coach Summer League, I believe, a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
And he stepped in when Taylor Jenkins was out. So I think he's probably going to be surprising. I don't know exactly how the system's going to look. I got to wait to see what the roster looks like. But I think it's a good hire for Toronto.
Yeah.
It's more than anything, it's kind of nice to see a balance of, hey, there's still a path for someone to elevate into the head coaching job. It's not just completely musical chairs. No disrespect, Rick Carlisle. Please don't hurt me.
I did not have that on the old bingo card, for sure. Like, I think it's interesting, and I think what stood out to me, I can't remember which report it was that I read. It's talking about the news. But one of the things that stood out for the Raptors is, like, they trust that he can, if they want to go full blown, like, rebuild and get younger, like Fred goes elsewhere, if they do press the Pascal button and he gets traded to Portland for the 3 pick or whatever the case may be. Like, they trust that he can develop players and he can be a part of that build. Or if they decide to just make tweaks on the roster, retool, it's sign and trade with Fred, or they bring Fred back or whatever. They feel like he can garner enough respect in the locker room, he has enough experience that he can push them to the next level if necessary. So, like, obviously we'll have to see what the roster looks like and how well they do to see if any of that holds true, but they clearly value his versatility in that regard and the experience that he's been able to accrue since, again, he was 16 years old. That's a lot of coaching experience, or just a lot of basketball experience in general. So that's very cool. Also on the coaching note, former Milwaukee associate head coach Charles Lee joining Joe Mazzulla's staff in Boston as the lead assistant. Boston has one heck of an assistant staff, it would appear.
It seems like a little... I mean, when you add Sam Cassell and Charles Lee, it says you're pretty serious about reshaping that. Now, obviously, it'll be interesting to see what the fallout is. There have been some whispers regarding Celtics, Houston, all that good stuff. I think it's a good move for both sides. Obviously, you want to get Joe Mazzulla more support. Charles Lee has done a very good job in Milwaukee, was the head assistant there, now gets to be the head assistant here. Unfortunately, missed out on the head jobs this cycle, but still can maintain that position for a quality team. I think it works out for everyone.
Gotcha. Okay. And then just on the W news front, again, we'll go into like Series W takeaways on the next pod since we're already deep in this. Now I want to do like 3 minutes of W talk and say, hey, we did it. So on the news front was announced a little bit earlier. Satou Sabally from the Dallas Wings, Breanna Stewart once again from the New York Liberty as your players of the week on the W side. I've just had a lot of fun watching Satou Sabally. 1, be healthy. 2, knock down the amount of threes that she's been able to knock down this season, in addition to the drives, the occasional post up, letting her operate as a screener and also run some pick and roll. And then the defensive versatility on top of that. She should be starting in your All-Star game right now. We're still very early on in voting. W All-Star voting ends next Wednesday. So we'll see what happens there in terms of player performance and whatnot. But she has been playing at an all-star level for sure. And even if she doesn't end up starting, she should just make the team. She's been really good on both ends of the floor. What else can be said about what Breanna Stewart has done to start the year?
Hey, look, man. 1, Satou has been very, very good. I love the usage. We can dive into that more in the next pod, but they're using her in a lot of different ways. Stewie is holding it down for the Liberty. Anytime things are going bad, hey, Stewie, can you get back in the game, please? Defensively, at the level, trap, drop, help. Offensively, you need a bucket. Give me the ball, please.
And it's just the variety of usage for Breanna Stewart as well. Like, not that it's new because we saw it in Seattle as well, but here's this post touch. Here's this ISO. Here's this pick and roll. Hey, you screen this time, get a mismatch, get a catch at the nail, turn around and see what happens. We'll run you off this pin down if necessary. It just does not matter what area of the floor that she's on. she is a threat to score, and if you send too much help, she will also dice you up. Just a unique talent. Like she's best player in the league for me. She is wild, and she, to your point, has just held this Liberty squad together as they sort through some lineup stuff, some rotation stuff, some injuries, some absences, players going overseas, things like that. The constant has been Breanna Stewart, as she always seems to be. And again, more W takeaways coming on the next pod, and just moving forward, there will just be more W talk since that is the season that is going on. That we'll talk some draft, we'll talk some summer league, we'll definitely talk some summer league, but this is going to transition more to the W side. So if you're trying to hop in, pick a team, pick a player to follow. If you're just trying to get more acclimated with the league, we are here to help. We're going to have a lot of fun. Steve, do you have free throws to close us out?
I sure do.
All right.
We got a little bit of finals theme for you, buddy.
This should be good. Okay.
All right. Better minutes in Game 5, DeAndre Jordan or Cody Zeller?
DeAndre Jordan, without question.
Can you believe you just said that out loud?
No, I cannot.
Okay. What is wilder, Aaron Gordon shirtless in the streets of Denver or Jokic absolutely wanting to go home at every turn of the corner?
Wilder is probably Aaron Gordon by default. Jokic made it clear very early that I want to help my team win. I want to leave. He wasn't here for it.
How many times did someone, including Aaron Gordon, say it's a parade inside my city? Yeah, as he was walking shirtless.
How can I say this? I think it's more likely to come from him than the crowd.
Okay.
I think Aaron Gordon held it down, and he was very happy that he won a championship.
Got you. With 2 rings in the last 4 seasons, are we in the KCP era? Is it giving Caldwell Pope?
No, you didn't. I was trying to think, what's the list of other players with 2 rings in the last 4 seasons? Is it just him?
Time restraints, but get to us in the comments. Let us know if there's someone else. What is wilder? The fact that Reggie Jackson, Bruce Brown, Ish Smith, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and DeAndre Jordan were all Pistons at some point, or that they're all champions at the same time?
Oh, wow. I'm glad you said that, because I just completely forgot about the DeAndre. Oh, God. It's probably probably the former for me.
Okay.
Wow. That's wild.
What's wilder, Ish Smith, Jeff Green, or DeAndre Jordan finishing their story?
I see, I want to say Ish Smith, because, on one hand, the pure volume of teams that he's played for is hey, man, is it going to happen? But also, because you played for so many teams, just the odds of you landed on a title team, they have to be high, right? If you only play for 2 teams, you got to hope it's one of them ones. You play for half the league, I guess DJ?
Okay. Keeping it consistent. Pick one Nikola Jokic post-game moment for me. It's good. The job is done. Now we go home. When's the parade? No, I need to go home. Or the overwhelmed reaction when he saw the amount of text that he had.
Can I add in a 5th?
What you got?
Him just tossing Jamal Murray in the pool? Actually, can I add in a 6?
Whatever he did with that champagne bottle.
Hey, I was about to say, can I add that in as well? That fan said, oh, okay, I'm done. All right. This isn't what I saw on TV. Can I go home? Mm-hmm. Honestly, it's good got me. Because, watching the buzzer sound and, Jokic just straight-faced, looking for literally every Heat player on the court, just make sure he shakes their hands. Mm-hmm. And then post-game, it's just okay. How does it feel? It's good. It's good. Job's finished. Now we go home. It's all right. That's funny.
That is funny. Why did KD delete that tweet? Because he was right.
Yeah, he should have let that one rock.
He should have let the Jokic tweet rock. Did Rudy Gobert have that tweet lined up no matter who won the finals?
Yes, with an asterisk. Okay. I don't think he would have had that much juice if Miami did it.
I see. Okay. Makes sense. Are we getting a tweet from Yusuf Nurkic?
Well, we got the highlight package from anyway. I doubt it. It.
What was more disrespectful? Jokic draft pick during the Taco Bell commercial or Nurkic highlights playing when he signed the contract extension?
It is absolutely Nurk. And here's why. One, that's an entirely different person. So just off rip, you win. Two, like second round, like that's just kind of how it goes, middle second round, late second round. Third, when you think about Jokic and Nurkic as players, you know what stands out to me about Nikola Jokic? Beyond the playmaking. You think about the insane amount of touch that he has inside the yard. And his ability to knock down these floaters and these push shots and these hook shots over either shoulder. And, he finds the different angles to knock down shots at the rim. And then there's Yusuf Nurkic, who I will just say does not do that on a consistent basis. Not the best finisher that these eyes have seen. And so for the highlight package to be like Nurk and pick and roll and stuff, as Jokic got that extension, yeah, I'd be. And then the backdrop was like them being on the same team and like Denver just choosing Jokic, partly for those reasons, but like choosing Jokic and it's still the Nurk highlight. You can't do that. I'm sorry. All due respect, but you can't do that.
All right, last one, Nekias. You ready?
Probably not, but
so Miami season's ends. Bam Adebayo's season is done. Udonis Haslem's career is done. Epke Udo just hired as a coach for the Atlanta Hawks. What kind of dark sorcery do you have?
Shout out Ekpe. Welcome, friend. Also, I will say very briefly, I'm glad you mentioned UD. You know what my takes have been for like the last 6 years or so about like the roster spot and stuff. Zooming out though, one heck of a career for Udonis Haslem. A true Miami Heat legend. And it is cool that he got a finals appearance in his last season. As I have said consistently, even with like my roster spot takes, as I have said consistently, Udonis Haslem should be a part of the Heat organization as long as he wants to be. He has made an immeasurable impact on that franchise since he's been there and on the players that have been there. And so I hope he does enjoy retirement or just his post-playing career, however he sees fit. Good?
I don't know what just happened.
That man's speechless.
Take us home.
Okay, well, Steve is flustered. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Dunker Spot. If you have not already, please subscribe to us. We are on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Podbean. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. You can follow me on Twitter at NekiasNBA. You can follow Steve on Twitter at SteveJones20. Join us in the Dunker Spot community on Twitter. We have fun discussions in there. Join us for our Dunker Spot online watch parties again. The NBA playing season may be over, but we are not done. The WNBA season is in full swing. So again, if you are a W fan or if you're trying to get into the league, we are hosting watch parties for those games, just like we were for the NBA side. So we're going to be breaking things down. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll also be watching some wrestling. I think we'll be able to watch the NBA draft. So if you want to watch along with us, you can. We'll have confirmation on that, I think, later in the week. So just stay tuned on that front. We're going to be having some fun. The link will be in the description for the audio listeners of this podcast. That should be hyperlinked. So just click on that, enter your information. It's free, no shenanigans. If not, just copy and paste the link into your browser or download the app. It is available on the Apple Store now. Again, it is free, no shenanigans. You're just signing into like your cable provider or your league pass, your info, whatever the case may be. Nothing new there. Free, no shenanigans. You can watch games live with us. So come have some fun with us. It is a lot of fun. I will vouch. Other people will vouch as well. With that, we will catch y'all later in the week.
I'm stunned.